Hi, my name is Tomasz Gop. I'm an executive producer at CI Games and I work on Lords of the Fallen. The presentation that you have seen today featured one of the dungeon levels that we have in Lords of the Fallen. I mean, what would a decent RPG be without a dungeon level? Catacombs, and we've shown part of the walkthrough throughout the catacombs, just a fraction of it, and then we've shown a boss fight where the final boss of the catacombs, the champion, is a really cool and dynamic boss. We believe that out of all the types of RPGs out there, we're a little bit more on the action side than the actual orthodox RPG part of it. This is not a game that is bound and wrapped around the storyline. Still, not leaving that behind, we still believe that a story in Lords of the Fallen is going to be an interesting one. This is not a franchise game, so we actually did come up with everything by ourselves. The combat and character development in Lords of the Fallen is the core and the foundation of what we have built around, of everything that we have built around and that constitutes the game itself. There are actually three pillars of how you can develop your character and how you can learn to fight in Lords of the Fallen. One of them is magical side of the game. These are spells, and this is bound to your class that you choose at the very beginning of the game. There are three classes: Rogue, Warrior, and Cleric. The other part is attributes. These are your statistics of your character, the strength, the agility, and all of that stuff. And this is purely, this is totally independent from the class that you choose. And the third part, also totally independent from the class that you choose, is the gear that you wear. But it's quite complex because we have a lot of that. We have a lot of armors, a lot of shields, and a lot of weapons, and they're divided into pools which have very, very different move sets that actually feel very differently, especially in terms of tactics that you fight with. On top of that, some of weapons will have perks, some of will be craftable. So it is quite complex, to be honest. You don't have to learn all of that if you don't want to, but there's a certain very, very basic level of knowledge that you need to possess to be fluent in fighting and learning how to fight in Lords of the Fallen. I think this game does not impose the player with the feeling that even the easiest, or let's say the trash mob opponents in the game will always kill you in few strikes. If you level up your character, if you build up not only your stats but also get a better gear, get a better defense, the beginning opponents will relatively and reasonably feel easier as they were at the beginning of the game. Also, you will also feel that a lot of them, for example, you will be able to kill with one very powerful strike because you've leveled that up, you've learned a lot about that. Part of the presentation where I was facing the heavy, there's a pit with wooden planks on top of it, and they normally won't break under regular opponents because they're not heavy enough. And you can even walk on it. Unless you have the very, very, very heavy armor that you break the point after beyond which it actually breaks, and you can fall down the pit and die, of course, but you can capitalize on that knowledge trying to lure this enemy because he's very heavily armored, he's got a heavy shield, he's got a huge sword, and he's not going to be willing to walk on that because he sort of knows that it's not a safe spot for him. But when you trigger to make him sort of perform attack or charge and align him with a pit in between you guys, he can fall into it, it will break, he will die. Of course, that means that there's sort of an easy way to fight with him and sort of get over it if you know the environment, but hey, there's a trade-off. As always, if you drop something, and it would only sound natural and logical that a guy big like this would drop something valuable, you're not going to get it if you do it this way. So